Yo, what's happening? Dave Acton back with another episode of Larynx Limelight, back in this dusty old corner that I'm in a part of my house that I don't really want to be in because I'd much rather be having these conversations face to face, but we can't at the moment. So we're making means of the technology that we've got about us, and we'll do it like this for now. Speaking to artists from up and down the country, Welsh MCs, speaking about their origins, their intentions, their inspirations, all of that. And today with me, I've got one of the most interesting, intricate, out there lyricists you can think of in the country, whether he's on his own doing projects such as Project Sad, King Jeremy, or he's part of Wee's team. You can always expect something completely out there, completely different, and something that you can definitely tune into. I've got a man like Og Titanteeth with me. How's it going, bud?
What's going, man? You all right?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad.
Okay.
You know, cracking on with the circumstance. How
Yeah,
are you
man.
coping with the circumstance? Is 2021 treating you any different to 2020?
Not drastically, nah, man. Just quite chill. Like, I'm not doing all that much. Taking my dog for a walk mainly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
keeping you fit. We have touched on this prior to hitting record on this conversation, but yeah, exercise, something that we've all got to try and keep up with, and what have you. You touched on
Definitely.
your exercise routine and how it's pretty much non-existent.
Yeah, pretty much non-existent, man. Yeah, a couple of press-ups here and there, but that's as far as I go. Like,
Yeah, we've touched on
yeah,
this before as well. You enjoyed gaming. Is
yeah,
that pretty much
definitely.
been taking up your time during lockdown?
Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
wish it didn't. Like, it's quite time-consuming, but what else is there to do? Like, in there.
yeah. What are you playing at the moment?
I've just completed the story mode to Red Dead Redemption 2. And that's like hell of a fucking immersive game. Like,
Yeah,
uh, got a bit teary at the end, but you've got to play the game to see what happens. Like,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
man.
fair. I can't recall a computer game that I ever got teary at. To be honest, I can't.
Fair.
I don't think there's any. Maybe some The Last of Us, where I got a certain way through that, and that was a bit
Mm,
hard hitting at points. Like,
yeah.
I do tend to weep at some TV programs and films now and again. There are certain films. It's more so when animals are involved. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, they do
I
catch me off guard.
I'm quite emotional when it comes to like shit like that, like films. Like sometimes me and the missus will watch something, and I'm like slightly getting like a bit fucking overwhelmed by it, and she's like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Fucking yeah, I'm all right. Just don't talk to me for 2 minutes." Like, just let me get over the
Yeah,
hurt.
man. Yeah,
Nah, man, I'm
100%.
quite like that. Like,
I like completely like shut down. I like
mm.
because I sit in a swivel chair and I like turn the chair and I'm like got my head in my hands like that. No one
Yeah,
can see me.
trying to fucking hide it. Like,
Yeah. But then I just turn into a blubbering mess. It's
mm,
unreal what media can do to you sometimes.
definitely.
Yeah. So getting into it, as I say, you are one of the most interesting lyricists in the country. Like, there's no two ways
Thank
about it. One of absolutely like completely out there, but so interesting to listen to musically. I want to start, obviously, go back to the beginning
you.
and find out where your affinity with music began. Obviously, we've had this conversation before, but we'll have it again. um,
Yeah.
so, yeah, where did it all begin for you? How did you get into music?
It was growing up. I'd always been around music. My mum and my father listened to like heavy rock and shit from the 80s and the 90s. So I feel like I've always been interested in music, but it didn't really take off until um, me and a few of my mates got together and we started jamming in a band. We were about 13, 14, quite young at the time, but we weren't like, obviously we weren't doing gigs and things. But yeah, stuck to singing and heavy metal, rock singing. And then yeah, 16, 17, we started doing gigs and stuff, and literally just went from there, man. Like, yeah, always been interested in music, but yeah, it just progressed over time, like, you know.
So, saying you were in a heavy metal band to kick off with, and to be
Mm-hmm.
where you are now in terms
Mm.
of hip hop and rap, it isn't that sort of, it's not a surprise in any way, shape or form, because I think those elements are still present there in the hip hop and the rap that you have done.
Definitely.
How was that transition? So when did you get into hip hop? When did you get into rap?
It must have been about 18, 19. I started listening to a lot of rap. I used to go and chill over some of my mates' houses, and they were at the time listening to a lot of Odd Future and Earl, and like Cypress Hill and things. So obviously, like, I'd listen to anything, but I feel it was rubbing off on me slightly. And like, I've always pushed to do music, and I've always known I wanted to do music. And there was always points where, like, I used to find that it would be easier if I could do stuff solo as well as with people. Like, it's quite difficult to get a lot of people in the room at the same time, and especially like on the regular. So yeah, it was like, if I could do heavy metal at that time on my own, I probably would have, but I never had the production skills to do so. So yeah, man, I hit Matt up and I was like, would you try and produce some beats for me? And it just went from there, man. But yeah, we still dabble in heavy metal, but it's obviously not the main element of my music currently, like, you know.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That transition, like I say, from heavy metal to hip hop, but you still having that influence in that hip hop music is really interesting. And then, like you say, just being around other people that were listening to hip hop at the time. I think those influences that you spoke of, so the Odd Future influence and Tyler, I think that's present in the music that you've put out. Was there anyone else that was sort of inspirational in that sense?
Yeah, Jam Baxter was a massive influence, as well as like Dirty Dyke. I think I started listening to, because I was chilling with the boys, and like one of the boys, he was more into like hip hop and trap and dubstep and things. Like, he was one of the boys that you'd go to for new music, because he'd always have something new in his playlist. And yeah, started from what I'd mentioned, and he'd played a few Dirty Dyke songs, got into it. Like, I've always found like rapping and rhyming, I've always found it interesting, you know. Like, I did listen to like Eminem and 50 Cent 10, 11, 12, but it just never had as much of an impact as what one, the heavy metal did, and secondly, of how impactful the rap was when I got older. Like, I feel like I didn't respect it as much in that way as a, as a young'un. Like, so yeah, having a different it was like a different mind state. Like, when you see something and you're not really up for it, and then like a couple of years down the line you have a second take and it's like, nah, man, this could be for me. Like, but yeah, so yeah, Dirty Dyke, and then yeah, run off from that. Then I just kept on checking them suggestions. Jam Baxter popped up, like Ronnie Bosch, Edward Scissorhands, like all the High Focus artists I'd give a chance. But yeah, Jam Baxter definitely stood out, simply because his lyricisms were like so like crazy and out there, and they were like yeah, it's like hallucinating, like, like amazing writing, like.
Yeah, it's mad how we've all got that one friend in the group that like constantly seems to have new music every week. Like, obviously, we try and search as much new music out of Wales as possible. But when you look at the broader scope, it's listen to this and listen.
Yeah, yeah.
It's mad because like it all is so accessible now. It doesn't almost feel the same as check out this new CD. But like I think, like, especially me, I'm sort of in that gap of where CDs and streaming platforms sort of like, started coming up and sort of ended in a sense, which it is a shame, because it was always good to go and buy a new CD. It was always good to go and buy a new CD. But
Definitely.
it's mad how we all had that one friend that was just, had his finger on the pulse when it came to music.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. So being surrounded by friends who were listening to all sorts of music, and you say you were in a band, so there's obviously a presence of music in Ammanford where you reside. What is the local music scene like in Ammanford?
Well, for myself, Ammanford is a pretty small town, and there was always like cover bands playing locally, but there was never like, there'd be one or two bands that were playing, like, and with original music. But I'd say it was more like Swansea and Cardiff was where the scene was. Now, like when I was a teen and doing music, it was more the like the rock and the metal scene I was into, and I may have been blind or even like oblivious to another scene. Like being a metalhead, it was like I was adamant, almost like not to listen to any other music because I had such a passion for metal at that time. Um, so yeah, there were gigs going about, as I said, cover bands, but there weren't anything like there wasn't a band, in my opinion, or in my experience. Like I didn't feel like there was a band that was um, impacting or influencing in any way, like um but yeah, it definitely picked up. Like we played a gig in Neath, and that was one of my first gigs. I think I was only 16, 17, and that was my first like metal gig. And yeah, it kind of went from there, like but any younger than that, I wasn't so into like a scene as such. So yeah, without trying to sound like offensive, I don't know any. I didn't know any bands at that time that were local that was influential. Like
Yeah, 100%, man. And like, we've experienced the same thing up here. I think, like hip hop and rap, like
Mm.
people shake their head at
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
sense. In that, yeah, because Wrexham was always indie band orientated.
mm,
It was always that way. And
yeah,
we've come along and we've tried to change the presence a little bit.
mm,
I still think that stigma is there of
mm.
rappers in Wales. Have you ever faced anything of that, like that, where you've gone, a rapper, Wales, what's all that about? Is that something you've ever experienced?
I think yeah, as you say, there's definitely a stigma there. I've never thought of it like when I was like I'd say making that transition. I guess you do go a little bit conscious, especially like when it did come down to like writing heavy metal and stuff, because he was screaming and it wasn't um like half the time people wouldn't know what you're saying, like but with rap you've got to be so clear with what you say, and almost like yeah, like conscious and like aware. You don't want to say like, well, some people do, like in it, but you don't want to say the wrong thing. So I guess it does make you more cautious and aware. But going back to like no, I haven't. I didn't feel. Yeah, man, you're conscious, but I didn't feel that there was a direct stigma to me. I think it was just more of that thing of like, yeah, just like a Welsh rapper in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Of course, of course. Yeah, of course, it's going to be different for everyone, and I think with you
Mm,
already having a foot in the door, in a sense,
mm,
music, it might
yeah.
have just been easier to transition. You touched then
Mm,
upon the writing side of like heavy metal, and then going into hip hop.
mm,
How's that transition? Like, how is it writing a heavy metal song to writing a hip hop song? Obviously, you've touched upon, you
mm,
have to be a lot more clear about what you say, but the
yeah.
actual writing side and what you are saying, how's
Yeah.
that any different?
Well, I find rap is a lot more personal for a start. Like when I was writing heavy metal lyrics, it was like I was more storytelling, and like there was more like concept about things. Like I'd actually create stories. Yeah, that's more like it. But with rap, I felt like, because it's not everyone's view, but I think it is a lot more of a personal, it is a lot more of a personal way to storytell. I started talking about my own experiences and how I feel about things and how I see things, but yeah, definitely you can get away with a lot with heavy metal. One, because people can't understand you unless you're in that scene, like. But yeah, I did a lot of storytelling back then, and I don't quite do it as much now. Yeah.
Well, with you saying, it's more of a personal touch in hip hop, which
Mm,
completely understand and agree with.
mm,
And you touch a lot on the personal side of things in the
mm,
projects that you've released. So Project Sad,
definitely.
which was released end of 2020, October
Hmm.
2020. And then
Correct. Yeah.
previously before that, you had King Jeremy.
Hmm.
Which, again, both of them, I like accessible hip hop in that sense.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Mm,
I lean towards the more commercial stuff. I'll listen to
yeah.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll give anything a go. But I
Mm,
definitely lean towards the more accessible side of things. But
mm,
then an artist like you comes along, and it's
mm,
so almost strange in which you've rapped on
yeah.
an ordinary sort of day-to-day experience. I listen to
Mm,
stuff like Amphibious Gods, Exclusive, stuff like that,
yeah.
and
Mm,
it is telling, a story that we can relate to, but it's wrapped
yeah.
up so differently. And
Mm,
then, like, add the production into stuff like that as well, because
yeah.
some beats and production carry the song. I think
Yeah.
you carry the beat. I think, and it's
Thank you.
so intertwined with one another, the beat
Mm,
and the vocals as well.
mm,
Talk to me a bit about the process of recording those projects. Like, let's kick off with King Jeremy.
yeah.
I think that is your first solo project.
Yes. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
That's the first. Yeah, that's the first like album that I put out that solely I'd produced. Duck and Jim had a listen. They had input. I'm pretty sure they both had a fiddle with a few tracks, But yeah, like solely that was like my creation really. And a lot of it, man, like I just had like a summer house built in the back of my mum's yard. And I was just living in that for a couple of months. Not quite living. My bedroom was in the house, but like every day that I wasn't in work, I'd be in there, like. Um, yeah, a few like I had a few like friends and family pass away and things a year or two prior to making that project. So I think that had a big impact with my writing. But I'd yeah, man, there was just a lot of like smoking and alcohol involved. But a lot of it was like I'd make a beat, I'd make a loop, I'd like it, I'd extend it to like 32 bars or whatever, and then I'd write. Um, and yeah, it just went from there. Like once I had like a good base, so that was probably like a verse and a hook. I felt like it was enough to be a song then. But I did this so many times that like I just ended up having a draft of like 10 songs, and I was like, what am I gonna do with them? So that's when I decided to bang it into an album. Um, but yeah, man, there was just a lot of solitude and soul searching and shit going on, and it was just writing what I'd been through, what I was doing. Like I was still hanging out with the boys and stuff a lot, so like, yeah, just being
One of
just
those
being like,
one of those life experience albums, which
yeah, definite, man, definite.
I can definitely appreciate. And especially when it's talked of like that on a record, but it's also talked of so openly, you know, in general conversation as well, which I
Yeah.
appreciate. You know, it's something that we need to do more. And
Mm.
then obviously after that, you followed with Project Sad, which released
Yes,
last
correct.
year.
Yeah.
You got more of an influence on the sort of production side of that, and that than what Jim and Duck have had. Is that more your project, or is there still influence from them two on there? We'll touch on them two, who them two are as well.
Yeah, no, I feel like they were like that was like a quiet album, in fairness, as in like it had happened again where I'd just like you know, isolated myself and I'd come up with a few songs and then yeah, chuck them together. Like, but they were that was a collection that I didn't quite show the boys because I didn't feel like it was as high up there as King Jeremy the Wicked. Like I love both of the albums equally, and they do feel like different chapters in my life. But I write so much that I sometimes think the boys get bored. Like, because I write so much, and I'm like, oh, do listen to this, what I've done, and like listen to this and listen to this, and it's like, yeah, eventually it's like I got to give them a rest, like, because I know I'm doing that editing, like, which is fair enough. I mean, yeah, just is what it is, like.
Yeah, it's good to have that initial sort of group that you can share stuff with.
Mm,
Yeah, most definitely. And I think, you know, keeping in that creative space as well, that's
mm,
definitely beneficial. I think if you can find something that sort of digs into that space, you're distracted essentially.
definitely, yeah.
But it's good to know that that distraction isn't necessarily there with you. I think you and Tim of ours should definitely swap notes, because Tim, once he gets in that creative space and he just goes, and it is message after message some days that I
Yeah.
receive, and it's like, okay, Tim, all right, yeah, I'll check this one out in a bit, because I'm generally in work when he sends.
That's it. And yeah, you're busy, like, in it. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, I relate there because like when you're creating and you're up there and you're buzzing from a song because like you've just made it and you think it's like the best song you've made, and then you send it out and you don't get a reply for ages because obviously the person you've sent it to is like busy, like genuine, and it's like, yeah, I totally relate to that, man.
But no, like I say, it's good to have those ears that you can go to and just say, you know, can you eventually listen to this if you get
Mm,
5 minutes, sort of thing. So touching on Jim and Duck, where have
mm-hmm.
they come into the picture? Because you are obviously one part of the collective known as We's Team, who also have their own catalogue of songs for you to go
Yeah.
and sift through, either on Spotify, Apple Music, Bandcamp, all of that. So yeah, where did Jim and Duck come into the picture?
Well, Duck was like he was like my beat magician at the beginning. Like me and Duck, we were in a heavy metal band when we first started off, and I've known Duck since I was maybe 14, 15. We were in different schools, and I ended up helping him out with like some music stuff. We'd met somehow down the grapevine off like a friend of a friend, like, you know, and we clicked and we got into heavy metal, and he's been a drummer like since a kid, man. And so he was like my link in the beginning to doing this stuff. Like, I not solo because he was there, but it was that thing of like doing it as one without other people, like, you know. So yeah, so Duck was producing everything on like GarageBand. I'd like one day just sent him a text and I was like, dude, like, I just want to make hip hop music. Can you just compose me something? And he did. And then yeah, we did it a few times, and Limbo was, yeah, conceived. And then we went on to do our second project, which was Parasite Paradise. And that's where like Jim has always been a friend of ours, like, you know, but we'd convinced him to to do a hook on Parasite Paradise. Going back, I'm getting the story mixed up slightly. Once Limbo was done, we'd given him a copy of the CD, and he was like buzzing about it, man. And he was like, I just love what you're doing, like, innit? And so yeah, so as we were doing Parasite, we were talking, and we ended up getting him involved on a hook. And it kind of went from there, man. So we'd had the first project, and that was done. A year went by, and then we did the second project. And yeah, once we'd done that, me and Matt were working on everything residual, and we'd convinced Jim to do a verse for that, for one of the songs. And then I felt like we had Jim in a headlock then to like bring him into the crew, and like actually, yeah, he's an amazing musician, and he literally just needed that, like that push, you know. Like, he plays guitar and stuff as well. He's like he's a metalhead himself, and he's amazing on the guitar. But we just, yeah, we ended up bringing it all into one. So yeah, Jim came along a little bit later, but I'd say Wee's team wasn't complete until he'd come along. Like, I felt like through Limbo and stuff, I was just rapping this entity, and it had finally become something, like, you know. So yeah, so really, really happy about that.
With that, it is the approach to Wee's team. Do you find the approach to Wee's team any different to the solo projects? Is there anything that you do differently? Is there any sort of like? So I've been in a group before, and it was quite sometimes difficult to manage. But is there any the approach of structuring songs and all that? Is that all different for you, or?
It's different for me on a personal note. The boys are the producers when we're all in the room, like, you know, like even now to this day, like, I enjoy producing, but I don't think it's my forte at all. Like, writing is what I truly love, like, you know. So I found a lot of it was Duck and Jim would have almost 100% input on the beats, on the production. Obviously, I'd chuck in a few ideas here and there, how I do things. But definitely when I'm in a room with those boys, it's like I'm just kicking back, sipping liquor, writing, like, while they do their thing, like, you know. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, man, it's for me, that's what's different, like, you know. And I love it as well, because it feels then that I can take a step back and just enjoy the environment more. And it's a lot of that, like, it's like that little bit of like being a rapper, in it, you know, where you're having people do stuff for you. It's yeah, so I do enjoy that. Yeah, definitely.
Do you find having those at your disposal in a sense? Do you find that helps the creativity? Because I feel like sometimes, especially if you're starting up, you know, if you're starting your career as a rapper, let's call it that, because that's what exactly it is. It's your career as a rapper. No matter, you know, if you're just starting out, if you start tomorrow, that is your career as a rapper, I feel. Do you find having that at your disposal, having producers there as do you find it helps with the creativity? Because a lot of people will just sort of go straight to sort of YouTube beats or stuff like that. Do you find that having someone there helping compose and facilitating your ideas, do you find that helps?
Definite, man, 100%. Only because they can cater to your needs. Like, yeah, you know, the boys will have so many songs, and they'll send them out, and we'll all have a listen, and we choose between us what songs work best. Or like sometimes, like, it's happened before where like Jim has wrote a song, he's produced it, but he's found like he can't write or rap to it, which is then it's like I then have a go and I write a verse, and then Jim will then listen and then get a verse that he's able to write out of it. But sorry, dude, I've drew a blank.
All right, mate, it happens. It happens. But yeah, so
what was the question again? Sorry, bro.
Having people facilitate your needs with production and whatnot, that is extremely helpful in sustaining that creative flow. Because, like I say, I remember starting up and it was all you, and it's nothing obviously against YouTube beats or anything like that. If you find a beat that caters to your needs, go ahead and use that. But having someone that can fine tune the idea, essentially,
exactly,
having Doc and Jim there to fine tune the idea and go, oh, this doesn't quite suit me. Maybe it suits you better. And I think that shows with the projects and the releases and whatnot, what you guys have put out, not only as individuals, but as part of Wee's team as well.
100%.
If we touch on Wee's team and the King of the Swamps album, that album, we've spoken about this before, not necessarily, it wasn't there to sort of work towards, but it's more a collection of material that you guys have come up with over the years.
Yeah, definitely. That was like an album that was like 3 years in the making, but 3 years from like the first 2 or 3 songs that we had together, and we were like, sound, we should just make an album, like, a good year and a half, 2 years was taken like to write and to track things, and then like we'd bought like a new microphone and things, which then gave the whole outcome of the vocals a different sound completely, like a crispier sound. So it was like back to the drawing board. Jim was like, man, we just got to re-record all the tracks. And I was like, so man, let's do it. Like at the start, I was a bit, I don't know, like all that work put in it, but definitely it was a good move, because the boys with their production and like the mastering, especially, like in my opinion, that sounds like it's been mixed and mastered professionally, like, but then the vocals were dragging it down as in quality.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, man. Fucking, it was the right move to do. But yeah, in the beginning, it wasn't meant to be an album. We just made a few beats, and then it was like, yeah, this we need to do something with it. But Jim is like such a perfectionist that it needed to be fine-tuned through and through, which again, like, I totally respect, and I think it was the best thing to have done, because for me, I'm very impatient with things. Like, I will literally write a beat in a night, put the lyrics down to it that night, and be like, sound, I'm gonna release that tomorrow. Whereas like, you do regret it a couple of weeks later, because you think like, man, like, could have added a few ad libs there, or like, could have taken that instrument away, or like made something quieter. Like, there's, no matter when you release music, there's always something that you can nitpick at later on down the line. But I personally think Kings of the Swamp is one of those albums for us where, like, it probably will happen, but it's been a couple of months since it's been out, and I think it's still just, it's still perfect to me. I still think there's nothing that can be changed on it. But as I said, a couple of years down the line, we might listen back and think, could have been better. But for 3 years work into it, I think it's definitely a masterpiece. Like,
I think for that amount of time spent on not necessarily a project, but working on those songs, and to have come together as a collection like that, I think it's an astounding project in all aspects, with your lyricism and the production from Jim and Duck. One of the best projects to come out of Wales last year, I think.
Thank you, man.
Like I say, definitely one of the most out there in terms of what you listen to, but one of the most interesting and intricate albums you'll listen to. That album was released on the Winger Records Bandcamp page. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So what's the connection there with the Winger lot? Because I think if you are to draw comparisons in Wales, they are your sort of closest companions in that sense.
Yes,
So,
definitely.
so the collaboration, in a sense, makes a ton of sense.
Mm.
Where did that sort of begin? Where did that connection come from?
I guess it was probably gigs when we were starting out. I did I attended a gig down in Swansea. It must have been 2014, 2015, and the boys were playing there. I think the Culture Vulture boys, they were playing there, and I think they may have been headlining as well. They may have even put on the show, bro. Probably,
Yeah,
knowing
yeah.
them, like fair play to them. And yeah, so I had a few bars, and I did a little open mic freestyle thing, and I'm pretty sure I met the boys then. So I checked out their socials and stuff, and like I can't remember how we came about to actually be mates. Like, do you know, it's just one of those things. It just happened, and never really thought about it. But then a couple of months, maybe even a year down the line, I ended up, or me and Duck tried hosting a gig, and we asked those boys and Zubat. There was a few other boys that had played as well, but man, I've burnt so many memories that I just can't remember. But but yeah, it's just always been like, you know, acquaintance into friend. Then it's like they come over, they jam, we go over there, jam with them. Like, you know, there's always been, since we met, we just clicked, like, you know. But yeah, man, they good boys, like really good.
100%. And again, like lyricists that are just out there, I
Mm,
personally feel like Jem, Squires of Jem, is one
mm,
of the best lyricists in Wales. Uh,
mm,
and then Zubat is an absolute alien. Like,
yeah, you mad.
like you just do something for the fun of it, like
Mm,
ridiculous level of talent that Zubat's got. And then
definitely.
obviously Kaiser and Hagee with the beats as well. I'd love to
Mm,
hear you over some Hagee production. I know that
yeah.
you've done the Weezer Team Culture Vultures collab
Mm,
beforehand. You've got
mm.
a track together, is that right?
Yeah, yeah, man.
I
Well, we
think there's a
did.
track as well, and I can't remember what the
Mm,
track's called.
yeah.
Can't remember what the track's called. But yeah,
But we put there's like us and the Culture Vultures. I've got a few songs in the archive, like um my PC, for example, Jim's PC or hard drive. He's got rid of the PC, but he's got a hard drive. Like, there's about 8 songs in cyberspace somewhere that are like waiting to be mixed, to be put together. But we just like we did a lot of meeting up in like 2017, 2018. And then I don't know, man, time is funny. Like, sometimes you got all the time in the world, and then other times then it just evades you.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, we got things in the pipeline, and we've done a few things. Um, but yeah, there's definitely more to come. Like,
yeah,
but I gotta say this, man. I feel like Kai is pretty wild with his like fucking his performances. Like, I've been in Hagee's studio, and I've watched and listened to Kai freestyle for about 6-7 minutes straight, man. And that inspired me, to be fair, like, because how he could touch on different topics and still keep his mouth moving. It was just amazing. Yeah, I just got to put that out there. That was one thing that really made me feel like fucking hell. Like, these
yeah.
boys they got something, like, you know, and they're doing it right. Like,
There's absolutely no questioning any of them's ability with a mic,
no, 100% not.
and their like you say, their performance aspect as well.
Mm,
We got the opportunity to bring them up to Wrexham in 2019. It definitely wasn't
mm,
last year. Yeah, we got to bring them up for Wrexfest in 2019. And to be
mm,
fair, like we felt a bit sort of bad. But it was in this. It was in a Portuguese cafe that we were using
yeah,
the upstairs of, that we just thrown like lights on and what have you. And to be
yeah,
fair to him, like I've never seen such a energetic sort of
mm,
like performance. And like I say, you only have to look through their back catalogue, I
Yeah.
maintain to this day that No Shrubs needs to be on like a Tony Hawk game or something like that.
Yeah,
Like 100%.
definitely.
It needs to be on there. But no, I would love to see, that is the collaboration that is probably
Mm,
top of the list most of the time, to be fair.
yeah.
A Culture Vultures and a Wheeze team collaboration of
Mm,
sorts. That would be tremendous to see. That
yeah.
that would be phenomenal. So yeah, we've touched upon that and like gigging as well. We've heard stories about your live sets as well and
Yeah.
how energetic they are. How much are you missing gigs at the moment?
Quite a bit, man. Yeah, there's nothing quite like the socialism and the network and the vibes of gigs. Like, I can't say I've been to any gig or performed at any gig where there's been like hostility or anything. Like, I feel like I feel there is a bit of stigma towards like hip hop concerts, or like local hip hop concerts, because you know it's just hip hop in it, like violence and hip hop. You could say it goes hand in hand. I don't think it does, but you could say like in it. But yeah, man, like I just miss turning up, drinking beer with people, then like performing, and like the afterwards of a gig. It's just amazing, man. And it's like the memories in it. It's like it just, yeah, it makes you feel like it's a sense of achievement, man. It's like you everything you're working towards isn't just a waste, like, even if it's like we've done plenty of gigs where we've played to like 5 people, man, or like we've played to just the rappers there. But like whether you're doing that or you perform to like 50, 100 people, like it don't matter, man. It's like it's such a sense of achievement, like knowing that the instrumentals and the music that you've created is being blasted at such a fucking volume that no one could talk. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, it's just the sense of fucking, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
man.
good, man.
Yeah, definitely. I'm like I've tried to approach 2021 with the mentality of appreciate celebrate the small wins, but then
Mm,
like a gig, performing at a gig is a massive achievement.
mm,
With someone maybe coming to you and asking you to perform at their showcase
mm,
or whatnot. You recently got the chance to do a live gig with Out of Focus Wales.
yeah,
How did you find that in comparison? I mean, there's an obvious answer to that question, but how did you
yeah.
find the live gig? The
It
live.
was it was it was good, man. Like definitely, like if I was given the opportunity, I'd do it again. But it was to a point awkward, because a big thing with performance is vibing off other people's vibes. And it's when you haven't got that, like when you're just trying to connect to the camera, it does bring yeah, it just brings the energy down a bit, like, so yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it 100%, but it's very, very different. And, almost awkward, like, you don't want to say awkward, but it is almost awkward doing it, because it's not like you've got like people in front of you. You're just looking at a camera, like, but definitely, yeah, man, 100% I do it again. Maybe, I don't know how you do it differently, like, but yeah, yeah, it's definitely good. Like,
Yeah, I mean, there is scope there to, I suppose, put your own twist on it. It's just sort of
mm,
digging in and finding something that's going to be different, I suppose.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's something we've looked at, and we will continue to look at while we're sort of in the situation that we're in. Um,
Mm.
but no, it's been good seeing artists from across Wales, use that to their advantage in a sense, and
100%, man.
do
Definitely.
something live, um,
Mm,
even if it is from the comfort of their own home. It's
mm.
it's using what we have to use at the moment because we can't
Yeah,
go outside.
yeah, yeah, that's it.
Um, it is that first on your agenda once all these restrictions and nonsense is restricted. It is gigging on your
Yeah,
agenda.
yeah, definite. I feel like, well, me and the boys definitely haven't done a gig since Kings of the Swamp, the album, came out. And like, even though like that was the material we were playing before all this kicked off and when we were gigging, like we did have like old bangers like What You Scared Of, Killing It Daily, and like Serpents. Like we did have a few on and off songs that we were using. But yeah, I'd say 2019 when we were gigging, it was mainly Kings of the Swamp. But I feel we haven't connected with people since that's come out. So yeah, it's 100% on the agenda. One of the first things we want to do. But yeah, I just yeah, it gives people a chance to listen to it before they hear it live, because a lot of it was like when we were playing, it was like unreleased stuff, and you'd only catch it if you were at the gigs. But yeah, gigging is definitely on the agenda, and we're gonna go even bigger and harder if we can.
Yeah, man. I sincerely hope that that opportunity is there for you to go. Well, I think you make the opportunities for the most part.
Mm.
But yeah, like I know that we are definitely looking at making that opportunity for you. You know, maybe get you up here or something, or
Awesome.
you can come
That'd
down
be
there.
awesome, man.
It give you that stage to perform on, because it's a, you know,
Definitely.
but I mean, we could do it for every part of the country if we wanted to. It's
Mm.
just not the means to do it.
Yeah.
But so what else does, I mean, we're 2 months into 2021 and things don't look very different to 2020.
Yeah.
What is on the agenda for 2021 for Og Titanteeth?
A lot more digital networking. Try and work with as many people as possible. Not in like, yeah, no, man, because I find as a musician, networking definitely evolves you, and gives you a little bit more like insight on how other people work. So yeah, there's networking, more music, more singles, more visuals. We's team, we're gonna bring out a few singles with that. Another, well, say another. We'll bring out a few music videos for a few songs from Kings of the Swamp. Yeah, try and get a Culture Vulture joint going on. Maybe some merch. Yeah, the world's the oyster, innit? Just fucking go for it, like.
Yeah. Do you feel, just touching on that, on the networking side of things, because for as much it can be a curse sometimes, it has been a little bit in a gift in opening up certain people's eyes to the scope of the scene in Wales. I think personally, 2020 year was a year where strides were made in a certain sense. I think the scene in Wales got a lot more exposure for what, you know, what actually happens in Wales in terms of hip hop
Yeah.
and grime.
Yeah.
So do you find that it has been a little bit of a gift in getting to know what else is happening around the country, or is that something, you know, has it opened your eyes?
Definite, man. A big thing that's opened my eyes is following you, Larynx Entertainment, because you do promote and show from, you know, the bottom coast all the way to the top, like, you know, so that's helped a lot. But you do your you know, a few people breaking through, which is awesome. You know, like, don't have to say it like in it, but like Luke RV, he's doing like amazingly. um uh I am Daya.
Yeah.
She's been I only discovered her a couple of months ago. May have been through your platform, bro, to be honest. But it's definitely
Yeah.
amazing to see so many people, you know, and expressing themselves and creating. You know, I think that's, in a life that's so dull, you need that, no matter how you do it. Like, you know.
Yeah, we need music for a start.
Mm.
We need these art forms as a means to sort of get through the day as well. For as
Mm.
much as some people may criticize the dull, monotonous channels on YouTube or whatever, tune in, by the
Yeah.
way, tune in to this
Yeah.
channel. You know, they do help in a certain sense get day to day in the situation what we're faced with. You touching
Mm.
on, you know, discovering artists like Dare and Luke, it's
Mm.
definitely how we've discovered artists, stumbling. I say for
Yeah.
every artist that we come across, we then discover
Mm.
like another three or another five,
Yeah.
purely because of where they're located or stuff like that.
Mm.
So, like Culture Vultures, they'll be doing like a gig and they'll have a lineup of people that we've not come across before. So
Yeah.
you'll have the likes of Wee's team, you'll have the likes of Soldiers of Monochrome, you'll have
Yeah.
Booty, and you'll
Mm.
go, Jesus Christ, this is more talent that is in Wales that
Yeah.
we've not
Yeah, man.
heard of before, and it's another catalogue for us to go and
Mm.
delve into and you know, try and promote in the best way that we can. You know, try you know,
Mm.
we're but a small cog on the wheel of
Yeah.
people that are trying to promote talent in Wales,
Mm.
and we'll continue to do what we do. But there are bigger and better ways for it to be done, and we'll just try
Of
and tap
course.
into that the best way we can, just to
Yeah.
support you lot. But yeah,
Mm.
like you say, the artists in Wales at the moment there feels like there's a sense of it's doable in Wales
Yes.
at the moment.
Yeah. 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 I fucking definitely agree with you there. Like, another one for me, like, oh man, there's so much artists in Wales, and like people like I know, like I've gigged with or spoken to online and things. Like, there are so many names that you just can't mention
Yeah,
because there's and like if I started to ring them off after this video, I'd feel so guilty that I didn't mention people who I'd later think of. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not even gonna ring some names off. But I do think like Craze the Jack, like he's a there's something about him and his music, man. I feel like he'll go far. T Rev as well. I think he's an amazing like he's a bit more raw, but I feel like his flows are very like wild and chaotic in a good way. Um, you know, Zuba again, Kron does like I enjoy Kron's music because he does a style that I'm into.
yeah,
Like it's very dark, it's very emotional, and like the way he projects his voice and executes his flows over the beat is just like really good as well. But I always think to myself, like, I'll click on all these videos and I'll have a look, and I always feel like, to a point, like slightly disappointed that the numbers aren't as high as what they should be. But then I kind of at the same time see how I don't know, like, for example, like there's a big like London drill genre and style going on at the moment, in it, and like I wouldn't say it's biting, but a lot of people are doing that style, which is awesome, like, you know. But I do think like trends tend to get more exposure than what the underground underdogs are doing, like, you know, and it probably always will be. But yeah, I want everyone to prosper, like, because I thoroughly think that Wales has got its own, it's definitely got its own, you know, bowl full of people, like, you know, and yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
I think you can look at other areas of the country or even other areas of the world. I mean, you only have to look at sort of look at the states, and
Mm,
you look at popular trends in the states, but then you have that underground scene. You have the
mm,
artists like Atmosphere, Tech Nine. You know, you could reel off
yeah,
those
yeah,
names,
yeah, yeah.
and that stands for Wales as well. I think
Mm,
until that spotlight gets put on Wales, I
yeah.
think that's when everything is going to become apparent.
Mm,
Of course, we've got, there's artists in Wales. There's artists that do the genres, the subgenres of drill and stuff like that. You know,
mm,
M9 does it incredibly, Stars does it incredibly, yeah,
mm,
C7s, but then you do have that underground scene. I think
yeah,
until that spotlight is put on the entirety of
mm,
Wales, that's when it's going to become so apparent. And we do hope, like we say, you know, we echo what you say. We do hope that everyone prospers and everyone achieves what they want to achieve.
definitely.
It's just a case of, you know, I think it's going to be for me. I think it's like that one artist that's going to break through
Yeah,
in my head
yeah,
how it's going to go.
yeah, and it'll expose everyone then because it'll shine a light on being like, all right, Wales has got a bit more to offer than what we thought. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
and I think in the previous Limelight that you're going to see before this one, Eaton talked about it. You've got artists like Makes the Grey, and
mm,
like Local, who are
mm,
the front runners in that
yeah,
sense.
yeah, I agree, man. I follow those dudes on Instagram, and yeah, like they're definitely projecting the stuff right. Like, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I feel the last boys that were to like break, yeah, man, I'd say like break the internet were like the Asteroid Boys, and I think their style was unique and amazing at the same time. Um, but like speaking through my experience, I might just be naive or blind. I don't think anyone has come with as much impact as that since them, like, you know. But as you're saying, it's like long overdue, and it's gonna happen, and it's gonna take that one artist or one you know, band or group or whatever that's really gonna like break through and shine the light. But like going back to that, like like the subgenre stuff, like I do I do believe that the accent um to a point has something to do with why people don't listen. Um not, you know, like for me, like I use my accent when I rap.
yeah,
And
yeah,
like I think to like, yeah, there's just something about it where like I feel like people that haven't given the accent a chance yet. Like there's um there's a drill artist up in he's Irish, man. He's called Ink, and his accent on a beat sounds like so amazing. As well as like Shogun from Scotland,
yeah,
him the same. And I think, you know, there's going to be that someone with just that like unique accent. Like even like you can even say like Luke RV, like he's got one of those accents that like there's going to be something about it that's just gonna like go, like, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and this is where sort of I think the strides we made last year stem from. In that, I think
Mm,
it was Conrad that had said, if you say that you're Welsh, you're
mm,
automatically sort of pushed to the side. And I think
yeah.
if you add the fact that you do hip hop or rap or grime to that as well, then you get pushed even
Yeah, yeah,
more
you
further
yeah,
to the side. Um,
yeah.
and that's where those conversations stem from. And I think because of that, and people turning around and saying, "All right, we do need to look a bit more at what is happening," and I think
Mm,
that's where we have made those strides, and it's
yeah.
great to see. And I think the actor, yeah, I can definitely agree. I think when we start out as lyricists in Wales or as rappers in Wales, we do emulate what we've heard and what we've seen.
Mm,
And I
mm,
think there has been uh, the use of the American twang in
mm,
certain people's, you know, in certain music. When we were younger,
yeah.
we get to a stage where we progress past that and do use our accents. I think
Yeah.
you and Boofy are probably the greatest examples of the accent being used
Yeah.
to it. But it's great, man. Be
Mm,
authentic, be true to
yeah,
yourself,
100%. Yeah.
and it's great having conversations with the artists from dotted about in because it's mad
Mm,
because you can travel 5-10 miles down the road and come across a completely different accent.
yeah, 100%.
You know, we were speaking to Eaton the other day, and that
Mm,
Newport accent is so prevalent,
prominent. Yeah.
and it shows it in the music that he's put out as well. You know, and like I say, it stands with you as well, and the guys in Wee's team and Boofy. That Welsh accent,
Yeah.
it flows so nicely over a beat. I
Mm.
think personally,
Yeah.
and I don't think that we should be disregarded in any way because of that. And
No. Yeah.
and me being the biased person that I am, you definitely shouldn't be disregarded because you do hip hop and grime. Touching
Mm.
on, like you saying, hip hop and violence are almost synonymous in that sense. And
Mm.
you know, hip hop has always been that reflection of
Yeah.
reality. You know,
Yeah.
that's always what it's been. And if we don't have that freedom of speech on the music that we perform, then
Mm.
what is it essentially? What is it?
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah, man.
and yeah, I feel that, and I definitely feel
Mm.
like we need to, or the bigger picture needs to change. You know,
Yeah.
people can't be looking at us and going, "Oh, they do hip hop or they do grime," and you know, we need to
Mm.
do them differently because that's not what it's about.
No. No.
I'm going to go off on one in a minute. So I'm going to wind that in, and
That's
like I
so,
say,
man.
I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us because I genuinely
You're
feel
welcome.
like you
Welcome.
are one of the most interesting lyricists in the country at the moment, in a part of the country that sort of almost seems to breed the interest in
Mm.
lyricists, you know, down that way at the moment. And I think compounding everything that we've said, in Wales, it's almost easy to be original because
Yeah.
it's almost easy to stand out with a style because
Mm.
no one's looking. But the more
No. Yeah. Yeah.
because the more people look at us, everyone's going to stand out for doing their own thing. And I think you'll
Yeah.
definitely be up there as doing your own thing, as making the music that you want to make.
Mm.
You know, because that's what it is. It's your music,
Yeah.
making
Definitely.
it the way you want to make it, and
Mm.
what
Yeah.
comes out sounding spectacular, absolutely
Thank
spectacular.
you, man. I
Um,
appreciate it. Yeah.
and
Thank
I
you.
definitely rate those projects that are out on the platforms, on Bandcamp, on Spotify. I believe Limbo and Parasite Paradise are on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Is there any?
They're on SoundCloud and YouTube, but they're archives. I've thought to myself many a time just to get like, we got CDs and we got the MP3s backed up, but I think, yeah, they'll be gone soon, and it'll only be like the OG listeners that'll like know of it. Like,
I'm,
um,
I'm gonna
but
go and pirate
that's
them
the,
straight after this. I'm gonna go and pirate them straight after this.
yeah, you best do, man, because yeah, I'm gonna get drunk one day and just be like, fuck it. Um, but yeah, man, they like, because like they're more like personal for me and Duck, man, like, especially like they're very nostalgic, and it's like, we always write music and think like they're just like journal entries, man. They're just like, because when time does pass and you listen back, and it's like, fuck, man, like you're just like in a different mind state all the time to all the music that you release, like,
Yeah,
but that is definitely like, I think Limbo, only like 10 of the boys listen to that. But like for me, that's like amazing. Like, I'm content enough in making the music, so when people listen, it's more of a bonus. Like, it's as I say, like, you're right, just as a journal entry. But yeah, man, they definitely gonna go. So yeah, get you better
get,
pirate them too.
get pirated, get pirated.
Yeah.
I'd almost say, like you say about, if 10 people are, that's the difference between making music for the fun of it and making it for like the seriousness of it. If you
Mm.
take yourself too serious and you want, I suppose there won't be any sense of achievement. But if
Yeah,
you're making it for fun and you get them listeners anyway, then that then becomes the achievement. And I think
definitely, definitely.
I think personally, I'm just going to put this into the atmosphere. I think personally, we should be seeing Limbo and Parasite Paradise on the other platforms. That's just
Fair.
me because I feel
Mm.
like I feel like one of the things that I made a mistake with, and I think people that I've worked with made a mistake with, is not showing that progression
Yeah.
of where we start and then where we're going, and showing how the improvements over the years. I'm just putting that out there.
No, man, no, I totally respect it. Like,
I think
definite.
go and have a drink and then go, right, they're going on Spotify, not the other way around.
Yeah. Fair.
So
Yeah, man.
to round up, we try and do this quick fire questions.
Right.
Just first things that come to your head. Some are Wales specific, they'll state otherwise. There's like one question that's Wales specific. No, two actually. All right, and quick fire questions. Who
Let's
is
go.
the greatest of all time?
Mac Miller.
Sweet. Best album ever?
Black Sunday, Cypress Hill.
Nice. Favorite track out of Wales?
Reflections by Culture Vultures.
Nice, nice. An artist that you'd most like to work with in Wales that you haven't already worked with?
Fuck, man. That's a hard one, bro. I'll be honest. Tell you what, Zuba, because I don't think, except for Flat Circle, which was WNGR is the track name, but that was on Squires of Gems Flat Circle EP. I think I'm fucking 95% sure that Zubat on it, as well as Jim and myself. But yeah, Zubat would be number one. I'd like to fucking, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's a shout. That's a shout. I mean, yeah, Zubat and yourselves, yeah, that's a definite shout. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. Before we go, do you want to drop your socials in? Do you want to let people know where they can find you?
Definitely. Instagram, you can find my personal account on Bud Eater, or if you just search the search bar, it'll be under Original Titanteeth. You can also find Wheeze Team on the Instagram. Music, my personal projects are on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, all the majors. Just hit that search button on Google. I'm pretty sure Wheeze Team and Og Titanteeth are one of a kind, so you probably won't. Yeah. Just hit that Google.
I did, obviously. I googled Og Titanteeth. Some really, I think it was toothpaste. I think toothpaste.
Fair, man. Yeah,
I think, but just as that, where did Titanteeth come from? We asked this last time. Where did Og Titanteeth come from?
It was just, I had prominent teeth as a young'un, and like rapping, obviously you speak and it involves teeth. So yeah, I just played off that. Big teeth, Titan teeth. And then the OG was in the beginning OGL, to be the initials for original, but I didn't. Yeah, I just misspelt it one day and it was just OG. So there's a common misconception of, like, you know, original gangster, but that's not me, man. It's meant to be original and then Titanteeth. So yeah, man, that's where it come from, really.
It was an error. It was an error.
It was an error, but it worked.
And I'd like to know where we can get said hoodie that you are wearing and the one in the background there.
Currently, this is out of stock. I'm gonna have to hound one of the boys who designed and made these, because I got a feeling more people are gonna want some. So yeah, so this was, I'd say, is homemade, man. But yeah, one of the boys, Fresh Pair, Timmy T, sorted this, and Jim ended up sorting these. I can't remember who through, but there'll definitely be merch in the future, so do not worry yourselves too much.
We'll definitely let the people know about that one. Like I say, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. again.
Thank you, and yourself.
And we look forward to everything OG Titanteeth and everything We's team in the future.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, thanks very much for tuning in. Until next time, peace.
Peace.
At the cost of a loss of my thoughts, I got lost in the frost, I was froze all along. No pros, just cons, got sores on the ice, cause the strength of the fog. Never sold, but a slain. What was the soul of mine? I found the time to delude my mind, and I melt and I liquefy my reflection. I no longer identify.